In this video, we are going to learn about the concept of static and non-static in Apex and also try to understand it through a couple of demos. So, what is static first? Static is a type of variables and methods in an Apex class. Variables and methods created with static keyword get associated with the class, and to access them we don't need to create objects or instances of that class that they belong to. Let's try to understand this with an example. So, here is a class which contains a static variable named SomeValue. Also, in this class we have created a method with static keyword named AssignSomeValue. And here is a code in execute anonymous Apex window to assign a value to that variable by calling the static method. You will notice that we did not create an object of the class static non-static demo, as both of these variables and methods are static. Now let's talk about the non-static variables and methods. These variables and methods get associated to the object of the class that we create instead of the class like the static members. So, to access the non-static members, we first need to create object of the class, and then using the object we can access them. Here is an example of the same class static non-static demo, in which we have created a non-static variable named non-static value and a non-static method named assign non-static value. Also, here is the code in execute anonymous Apex window to assign a value to the non-static variable and call the non-static method. You will notice that we have created two objects of the class, and using these objects we are accessing the variables and methods. Now, at a high level, the static versus non-static seems to be just a syntactical difference of creating and accessing the class members. However, it is not. Here are some functional differences between these two. Memory allocation. Static variables do not need to allocate any memory in heap, as those are accessible to the class only, and we will not need multiple instances of these variables. In contrast to the static variables, for the non-static variables we need to allocate separate space in every object that we create in heap memory, so that we can create n number of objects and we can store multiple values of the same variable in different objects, as we saw in the non-static example. An important thing to understand is that memory is allocated in heap for every object of a class that we create. Also, in these objects the space is allocated only for the variables. As for the code, we don't need to allocate any memory. Data integrity. Since the non-static variables are stored in different objects, there is least chance of accidental data manipulation, as in general the variables are manipulated in the non-static methods only, and a non-static method of one object will not be able to manipulate variable that is associated to a different object. However, in the context of static, at any point in code the data can be accidentally changed, as it's a single instance associated to the class. Restriction on usage. Since static variables and methods are associated to a class, they cannot refer to the non-static variables and methods. However, non-static methods can refer to the static variables and methods. Why? This is because of the first point, that is memory allocation, where non-static variables are stored in separate space in heap, and we cannot refer to them without an object. Now we come to a point where we need to decide when should we use what. Let's try to understand this with a few examples. If we need only one instance of a variable which will be shared across all the methods of the class and outside of the class as well, then we should go with a static variable. If we want to create a method that will not be referring to or using object or instance specific variables, we should create static methods. If we want to create multiple instances of a variable where we will store unique values in those variables, and those should be separated by different objects, then we should go with non-static variables. And if we want to write some logic that will be restricted to the variables of an object only, then we should create non-static methods. If you like this video, please do like and share. If you want to receive more of such informative content, please hit the subscribe button. If you want us to make content related to any Salesforce or Salesforce related topic, please do let us know through comments.